this evening we shall discuss briefly the practice of the four foundations of mindfulness. Whenever we practice mindfulness meditation, vipassana meditation, we have to practice in accordance with the discourse on the four foundation of mindfulness. We can't choose one out of four foundations. If we only practice one foundations of mindfulness, the practice is not complete. So it's important to practice mindfulness meditation in accordance with the sutta or Mahasatipatthana Sutta, the great discourse on the foundations of mindfulness. So the four foundations of mindfulness, mindfulness of body phenomena, mindfulness of feeling or sensation, mindfulness of the states of consciousness, and mindfulness of Dharma. So the four foundations of mindfulness have only a single essence, which consists of mindful contemplation of phenomena. They are differentiated insofar as this mindfulness contemplation is to be applied to four objects or four kinds of phenomena: the body, feeling, states of consciousness, and Dharma. So we can't choose one foundation or be mindful of only one phenomenon. There's a variety of mental and physical phenomena that are arising from one moment to next moment. But we may choose one of the phenomenon in order to help us to begin the practice of mindfulness. We may choose one of the phenomenon. For example, we begin with the movements of abdomen during sitting meditation. The movements of the abdomen is due to the manifestations of the wind element. Every physical phenomenon consists mainly the four material elements. And mindful contemplations of the four material elements is one of the subjects or topics of mindfulness in the first foundation, Kaya Upasana Satipatthana. So in the first foundation, there are various subjects of contemplation or mindfulness. Here, the word contemplation means mindful. It's not about thinking or reflecting or analyzing the phenomenon. So contemplating means be mindful, be aware of every phenomenon as it really occurs. And we train our mindfulness so that the mindfulness is getting more and more attentive and precise. In other words, mindfulness also means full attention. We train our mind to pay full attention to our direct experience. For example, when you are mindful of any painful sensation, you are paying full attention to your direct experience on that process of pain. You do not have to think of the painful sensation as dukkha. You do not have to analyze the painful sensation into various types. For example, some meditators analyze the pain or differentiate the pain as piercing pain, cutting pain, and so on. It is not necessary to make a distinction of the pain in this way. So meditators merely pay full attention to what's been experienced at the time. So in the first foundations, mindfulness of body phenomena consists of mindfulness of breathing. The second is about the four postures of body: walking, standing, sitting, and lying down. The third is mindfulness with clear compassions. For example, you have to be mindful of your routine activities. For example, a bhikkhu in going forward and going back, one applies clear compassions. So here bhikkhu also includes those who practice the four foundations of mindfulness. We shall explain mindfulness, clear compassion in more details in another talk. Then the next subjects of mindfulness of body phenomena is reflections on the loathsomeness or repulsiveness of the body. So these reflections or contemplations on the repulsiveness of the body is an object of concentrations. So meditators begins with the practice of concentration by reflecting on the repulsiveness body. In other words, contemplating on the 32 parts of body. When meditators have gained deep concentration, then they should switch over to the practice of vipassana meditation. Similarly, the first subject of mindfulness of body phenomena is mindfulness of the breath. The meditators begins with the practice of concentration, and when they have gained deep concentration, then they should switch over to the practice of vipassana meditation. The fifth subject found in the first foundation is a contemplation or mindful contemplating on the material elements. So in this meditation, we begin on the mindful of the material elements, but we do not ignore other objects. We do not concentrate the practice on the four material elements only. If there is other object arising from other foundations, for example, feeling or sensations, then we should be mindful of it as it really occurs. And the next subject is 9 cemetery contemplation, which are the objects of concentration as well. So the scriptures explains these different subjects of meditation in the first foundation. But when the scriptures explains each subjects of the meditation, and then towards the end, the scripture will explain that one dwells contemplating the origination factors in the body, or one dwells contemplating the dissolution factors in the body, or one dwells contemplating both the origination and dissolution factors in the body. So, in other words, one can only realize the originations or the dissolutions, or both, if they practice mindfulness meditation or vipassana meditation. We can't realize the origination, in other words, the arising, or the dissolution means the passing away or disappearing, or both by the practice of concentration. So the discourse on the practice of four foundations of mindfulness emphasize on the development of insight knowledge. In other words, realizing the true nature of the mental and physical phenomena, anicca, or impermanence, dukkha, unsatisfactories, anatta, no self, through personal experience or direct experience. Then the next foundation is Vedananupassana Satipatthana, mindfulness or contemplations of feelings. Feelings can be classified in brief 3 kinds, or sometimes can be classified into 5 kinds. There are painful feeling, dukkha vedana, pleasant feeling, sukha vedana, and neutral feelings, upekkha vedana. Dukkha vedana can be classified into 2 types. One is produced by the physical phenomena of body process, this dukkha vedana. The other is domanassa. Domanassa, in other words, the feeling of painful sensation, which is produced by the physical. So the first is dukkha vedana, is produced by the physical phenomena or physical process. The other is the dobanasa, unpleasant mental pain or grief which is produced by mental phenomena or mental process. Then the present feelings or sensation can be classified into two. Sukha Vedana is produced by the body phenomena or physical process, and Somanasa, joy or mental joy, is produced by the mental states or mental phenomena. But Upekha Vedana is only one. It's a neutral feelings produced by the mental states. But whatever feelings, even though the source of arising is due to body phenomena or physical process, is all feelings a mental process. So that's why when meditators are mindful of the physical pain or pleasant body feelings, they should be mindful of the feeling, the process of feeling or sensation. They do not have to pay attention of the location of the physical pain or present bodily feelings. So meditators need to be mindful, for example, the physical pain precisely, and note it as pain. Pain is a good object meditation. You might heard this saying that the pain is a good friend of meditators, and the pain is the key to the door of Nibbana. So meditators should regard the pain as a friend. In other words, by being mindful and not pain or mental grief or unpleasant mental feelings or present feelings and so on, meditators may be able to learn a lot of experience or to gain a lot of experience by being mindful of feeling. Pain is not really a problem or hindrance to the practice. Is one's own mental defilements is a hindrance to the practice. So by being mindful of pain, you might come to realize certain mental reactions, such as resistance to the pain, the feeling of dislike or aversion, and so on. So is this feeling of dislike, aversion, or hatred that cause the suffering, cause you to suffer? So if meditators could mindful and note the painful sensation very well, they come to realize pain is merely a process, a mental process. Mindfulness, or to noting mind, is another process. There's no one, a yogi, or an I feeling the pain. It's merely a pair process, mental processes that are arising and passing away at that moment. So sometimes meditators are mindful and note the pain. They experience the intensity of pain is increasing. In fact, the intensity of the painful sensation is not increasing, but because of your mindfulness, when you are able to pay more and more attention to the pain, you feel the pain clearly, strongly. So meditators need to be patient and be able to be mindful of any mental reaction if there's a mental reaction. Sometimes meditators mindful and note pain, and feel the pain is getting unbearable. They may drop the mental noting temporarily. Just be aware of or be mindful of that strong pain without any mental labeling. In other words, the mind is no longer note it as pain. Sometimes meditators could mindful of the strong pain better without mental noting. Then they could feel the mind. They could feel the mind quite calm, and when they are able to know it, then they should know it again. Pain, and so on. Similarly, during the practice of mindfulness meditation, some meditators may experience a lot of tension, mental tension, or tightness of the mind, or physical tension, physical tightness, and so on. Then they should be mindful of them as they really occur. When meditators are mindful of the mental tension or tightness, pressure that's arising in the head. Sometimes meditators have to mindful and know it. But when meditators begin to note the tightness or tension that's arising in the head, and the tension or tightness is getting worse, the intensity is increasing. In that case, meditators may drop the mental noting, but should be aware of the tension or tightness in the head. If they ignore it and make an effort to bring the mindfulness or awareness back to the basic object, for example, the movements of abdomen, they may, in that way, they make an effort to suppress it. But eventually, this type of tension or tightness or pressure, which is arousing in the head, could be getting stronger. and can become obstacles to the progress of mindfulness meditation. So meditators should practice mindfulness in accordance with the guideline or the principles. If the tension or the tightness or pressures is arising around the head, they should mindful and note it as it really occurs. They may drop the mental noting if the tension, tightness or pressure is building up, getting stronger and stronger. It's because when meditators make mental noting, they have to put little bit more effort into the little bit more effort into the practice. That could cause the tension or pressure or tightness to increase. Sometimes meditators may have to mindful of them with a moderate effort. So sometimes when meditators could mindful of them with moderate efforts, they realize the tension, tightness are subsiding and then disappear. So it's important to mindful of such tension, tightness or pressures arising in the head. When meditators perceive tension arising or tightness arising at other parts of the body, they should also be mindful and note it. So here they can note it because even is different from the tightness or tension or pressure arising in the head. It's because the area, the head is a sensitive area, but other part of bodies, for example shoulders, is not sensitive areas. Some meditators do feel tightness, tension arising in the shoulders. They may mindful and note it. So feelings or sensation is a mental process. So meditators need not have to concern about the location, which part of the body, and so on. So meditators have to learn to develop mindfulness and note the painful sensation or any kinds of sensation, as long as the sensation is persisting. Meditators have to mindful and know it from one movement to next movement, pain, giving full attention to the pain at each movement. Sometimes meditators could be experiencing the pain is moving from one area to next areas and so on. So as long as the pain is the most distinct object, meditators have to mindful and know it as it really occurs. In fact, no pain is moving from one place to another place. Pain is also one of the ultimate realities or absolute realities, or Paramatha Satya or Paramatha Dhamma. Actually, there's no ultimate reality that's moving from one place to another place. Every ultimate reality is ceasing or vanishing at the place it comes to be, or comes into existence. But it's not easy to realize it until the meditators have attained momentary concentration. That's why we give instructions to meditators. They have to develop the momentum mindfulness. They have to increase the duration of momentum mindfulness gradually. So the second foundation is mindfulness or contemplation of feelings. So meditators cannot choose one foundation. For example, meditators only want to mindful of the body phenomena. Sometimes certain body phenomena can give rise to feeling or sensations. For example, you mindful of hot. Although we may express it as a hot feelings, hot sensation. I'm feeling hot, but hot is due to the manifestation of five elements, and is a physical phenomenon in those physical process. So meditators have to note hot. But sometimes that hot phenomenon causes a feeling to arise. For example, meditators feel it unpleasant. It becomes an unpleasant feeling due to that physical phenomenon, hot. The meditators should mindful and note unpleasant. So in that way, meditators are practicing the second foundation. Sometimes meditators mindful of the unpleasant feeling caused by that hot phenomenon. Then there's a feeling of dislike or aversion. The meditators should mindful and note aversion. In the way, meditators are practicing the third foundation. So the third foundation is known as Citta Nupassana Satipatthana, mindfulness of the states of consciousness. But in fact, we are mindful of the mental factors which is arising with the consciousness. Every mental state consists of two components. One is a consciousness, the other is mental factors. So for example, sometimes one perceives that the consciousness arising with hate. Then meditators note it as hate or dosa. So this is one of the objects found in the third foundation, Citta Nupassana Satipatthana. So every consciousness doesn't arise alone. The consciousness arises with a group of mental factors. So sometimes we perceive the mental factors very distinct. So one of the meditation masters say that the mental factors are what colors of consciousness. Um, um, so we could see the mental factors clearly when our mindfulness are getting sharper, stronger. So there are various consciousness arising with mental factors. And then the fourth foundation, mindfulness of Dharma, consists of 5 subjects. There are 5 mental hindrances, 5 aggregates of clinging, mindfulness of 6 internal and 6 external sense spaces. The fourth is 7 factors of enlightenments, and the fifth is the 4 noble truths. So the 4 noble truths, as you know, is the essence of the teaching. The commentary say that it's not possible to attain any Arya Magga, that means any path knowledge without mindful of the 4 noble truths. So we in accordance with the commentary, this practice of mindfulness is based on the 4 noble truths. So the subject of mindfulness meditation is known as Chatu Satya Kammatthana. Chatu means 4, Satya means the noble truth. Kammatthana means mental, a place, a working place for the mind, or the phenomena or objects that enable mental development or mental cultivations. So this practice is based on Chatu Satya Kammatthana. So meditators have to be mindful of 4 different objects or phenomena. The body, the feeling or sensation, the states of consciousness, and the Dharma. It's not possible to choose one of the 4. When an object has passed away, the next object that's arising could be due to one of the foundations. For example, when your mindfulness is attentive and precise with deep concentration, when the movements of rising has disappeared, then you can't expect that the next object is another movement or process falling. Sometimes a movement has disappeared. In the next movement, the hearing of the sound is very dominant or distinct. Then meditators have to mindful note hearing. So when hearing has disappeared, the next movement, could be another object arise. Another object will be rising. For example, pain. Then meditators have to mindful and note pain. Meditators can't choose the object that they want to mindful. At the beginning of practice, meditators have to make an effort to direct the mindfulness to the object. But when the mindfulness is getting better, we come to realize the mindfulness will choose the object by itself. For example, when meditators are mindful of a pain, sometimes the intensity of the pain is decreasing, but there's another stronger pain arising at another place. The mindfulness will go to the other stronger pain. The meditators have to follow note pain. Sometimes when meditators are mindful note the stronger pain, they realize there's a desire to move. Then they have to note desire, and so on. They can't bring the mind back to the pain. So they have to follow the mindfulness of the mind. So that's why mindfulness meditation is also known as a choiceless awareness. Meditators did not choose the object that they like. Mindfulness is in fact, you choose the object, go to the object by itself. So when meditators practice all the 4 foundations well, then they can make progress. At the beginning of practice, they could not perceive the disappearance of the object clearly. For example, pain. Sometimes meditators are mindful, note pain. But the pain has not disappeared. There's another stronger object rising. For the rising movements, then they should mindful of the rising movements. Or another stronger painful sensation arising, they have to mindful of the other stronger painful sensation. But when they could develop mindfulness well, and attaining deeper concentration, then they would be able to realize that an object had disappeared, then the next object will be arising in the next moment. If the object at this moment had not yet disappeared, then the next object cannot arise. So it's important to practice all the 4 foundation mindfulness. Although we do emphasize the importance of mindfulness of mental phenomena, such as thinking, planning, anger, aversion, sleepiness, and so on. It's because meditation is mental training, mental culture, or mental development. So it's important to mindful and note whatever mental state that's arising at that present moment. When mental state has disappeared, or mental phenomenon has disappeared, the meditators should be very mindful of the body phenomenon or body sensation, whichever is more distinct. So in that way, meditators might have to be mindful from one object to next object, from one movement to next movement. When the mindfulness is getting stronger with the deeper concentration, they come to realize that mindfulness only takes one object, and mindfulness is always arising dependent on object. If there's no object, there's no arising mindfulness. When the object had disappeared, mindfulness that was noting that object is subject to passing away at that time. So it's important to practice the 4 foundation mindfulness, so that meditators could develop mindfulness from one movement to next movement and gain deeper concentration and more penetrative wisdoms, and then they could remove the mental defilements and attain enlightenment. So